So we got one more seat. We got one more seat. Got one more seat. Got one more seat. Is it? We got one more seat.
I'm having this conversation.
For a second, I was like, are you asking for volunteers?
Yeah, he was asking for a volunteer. It's me.
All right, then.
It's a Scotsman with a beer. This might possibly... Okay, so you seem to have an opinion on this. So...
What makes you think that?
What? Is the electric guitar... Well, I'll do this, okay. Is the electric guitar dead? Colin. Scott.
Henning.
CS Guitars, right there.
Polly.
Yes.
Yes.
Is the electric guitar dead? They're having a conversation over there completely privately.
Yeah, come on. Have some respect here, guys.
Is the electric guitar dead?
I'm speaking. That's why you should have some respect. I mean, come on.
Are we live right now?
We are live, yes.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, good.
So,
I'm glad we're live.
Colin seems to be rather enraged about the topic.
What is the topic? Remind me.
Is the electric guitar dead?
Aye, of course it is. And no, like seriously, let me hear me out on this one. Hear me out on this one. What every company right now is trying to do what we were doing in the 50s and the 60s. That seems to be the popular thing, right? It's going back to the old style of guitars. And there's no forward looking. And that's going to be our downfall, is the fact that we're so nostalgically blinded.
I'm inviting you to GuitCon, and you actually fucking think the electric guitar is dead? I did not want to actually hear anyone up here say the electric guitar. I wanted you to say no, 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 and then we can take questions from completely unrelated to the topic from the audience.
What does the audience know about anything on this one? Let's be honest with ourselves. Look, we're doing this thing. I mean, even the amp companies, they're really, they're pushing new things. They're pushing a whole bunch of new things.
They're what? I can't really understand what you're saying.
What I am saying is that they are pushing new things.
They're what? Pushing?
How do you want me to say it? What makes sense to you, Henning?
In a way I can understand it. And possibly change
your opinion.
You
just understood what I said
possibly
there
change
to
your
respond.
fucking opinion around before you come up here on the stage at GuitCon, which I made about electric.
You made it,
about fucking electric.
No,
I made
your thing?
Electric guitar.
Where have you been all week? If this is your
electric
thing?
fucking guitar.
Where have you been? Let's be honest with ourselves. Have you seen him in any videos this week?
Well, that's not my freaking fault.
Is it not?
It's like little whiny Scottish guy, little leprechaun man.
What the fucking leprechaun?
Like,
what the fuck leprechaun's that about?
I don't know.
Do you think I'm Lucky Charms?
Well, I don't know.
Do you think I'm fucking dancing about with a shamrock? Is that what you think I am?
Scottish freaking...
What the fuck are you wearing right now? Some sort of fucking blanket? What the fuck is this?
It's my thing.
That's not your thing. What is your thing? Disappearing?
Excuse me, this is my stage at the moment.
It's my
Look
stage
how freaking
right
tiny that guy is.
Don't fucking call me tiny. Square, go then, mate.
Well,
come on, right about it.
Go to your freaking lock and disappear in it.
Lock? Oh yeah, you lederhosen schnitzel.
That's just not lederhosen fucking
shit. Fucking come on then.
So you think the electric guitar's dead?
Yes.
And scene. We're not going to talk about this. I'm gonna go, and I want Trey up here because Trey is, I'm sorry to say this, way fucking funnier than I am. So I want Trey to host this.
Does someone else want to come up and replace me? I think I've really embarrassed myself.
We're gonna go and make up now and kiss a little bit and make out.
Yeah.
You can cuddle up on my jumper here.
The lovely
blanket.
Yeah,
it looks like a freaking blanket. So you
if
pick
it
someone
was a
else to
swamp,
come up here, Trey. This is my phone. Don't erase my porn. Same joke as yesterday. I have no new material.
If I erase it, I've got nothing to look at while I'm sitting up here.
So this is the death of the electric car, right?
Yeah, the electric car.
Death of the acoustic car. So what's that? We can talk about whatever the fuck we want. Oh man, let's talk about how Sprite in Germany is not as good as everywhere else. I'm a little bummed about that.
No. If you're gonna talk about that,
You did a great job pouring it,
Wait,
but
nobody's from Germany here now. I was gonna have somebody explain the seltzer water thing. I don't
I can pretend that I am from Germany.
Is there anybody watching this live stream?
Hello. Is there anybody out there?
Crickets.
All right, let's take a look.
I got a question real quick. Just real quick, because I know
Okay.
I know Pete has, I know you have, and I know generally I have. Trey, I don't know if you have. Have you done a video about the subject?
I have.
Yeah, I know. I've seen
death of
you
the
in
electric-
Thames.
Oh, okay.
I saw you in Thames, and I know Pixie and I did one. So that's why I'm curious.
I have not.
Okay, so.
All right. Well, I'm gonna just say what I think about it.
Yeah.
And what I think about it is that. Yes, I'm going to talk about what I think about it for a second. Okay,
Noah,
part of the
baby.
problem is that there's this thing in the guitar industry where it's like it's not Apple, you know. It's not like some, you know, ever expanding number of people that like the supply of guitars does. I don't know. When I think about like at some point, you know, 50s, the 60s, the 70s, they kept selling more and more and more guitars. How much can that continue? Guitars can last a lifetime. So, you know, we're here at an instrument manufacturer. Obviously, I want them to do well. I want everybody to succeed. But at some point, it's like, how many guitars does the world need? So that article that came out in the Washington Post all about the death of the electric guitar and all this stuff.
I take back
I mean,
everything.
sure, I believe its popularity has waned a little bit in popular music. That's just borne out and looking at the charts and stuff. Kids are making music using iPads and all that business. But it's still very popular. And it's like, if what you base it on is guitar sales, it's like, okay, well, maybe they have peaked at a point and it can't grow. You know what I mean? Like, how many instruments does the world need before, you know? I'm just not sure about that. It just seems kind of crazy to me. Like, maybe, you know, thinking about like your Gibson or Fender or whatever company you are, and you're just going to keep growing and growing and growing. Is that realistic? I don't think so.
So I
Not
have a
really.
question for you and Phil, because you guys tour a lot. So when you tour, where are the guitar fans at?
Japan, for sure. It's huge. I mean, there's armies of young kids walking down the streets in Shibuya where there happens to be a lot of music schools there, but you see lots of people with guitars, you know. So it's still rocking there. South America, right? I mean, like,
I think anywhere that you go, there's guitar players in the audience. Because I get messages all the time. Like I'll post a picture from the show, and people are like, "Oh my God, I love that guitar," and "Oh my God, you played great," and "Oh, you make me want to play guitar." And so we still inspire people. I think that's really important too. And my whole view on this thing is, I don't think it could ever die, because there's been times, like even playing style. Think about everybody who was rocking the 80s style and playing as fast as they could and distorted. And then the grunge thing came, and I think guitar players went like, well, I could achieve Pearl Jam and Nirvana in about 6 months, but it would take me 10 years to achieve Nuno Betancourt. So, and then they thought,
Or
well,
never.
and so it set that into motion where people just started dumbing down guitar. And even the great players were dumbing down guitar. Less solos, less that. You know, like Jerry Cantrell, before he was in Alice in Chains, he was shredding. But no, he dumbed it down, but in a great and cool way.
You did a lot of sessions in the 90s and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I bet people told you, can you make it not sound like a guitar?
No, I actually had a producer say, can you play that and pretend that you can't really play?
Right.
It was that, and it kind of made me feel like, okay, yeah, I can do that too, because I'm a professional. And then to follow through and keep going, you know, Guitar Hero, which stormed the world, but I loved Guitar Hero because it introduced kids to Carry On Wayward Son and More Than a Feeling by Boston, and songs that they would have never heard until they played Guitar Hero. But then 2 years later, they're like, I can't play an electric controller on stage. Mom, can I get a guitar? And then Target started selling guitars. So I think there will always be a desire there to buy a guitar or play a guitar and that kind of thing.
I think it's kind of a testament. I think this article that set off this whole thing is like kind of a testament to the fact that like any fucking ass clown can say something on the internet these days,
Well,
and
that's
it'll
true.
get everybody in a tizzy.
I think you just insulted all of it. GuitCon.
we talked about that on the
We talked about that in the Tim and Pete
'Cause-
show, where there's a clickbait element. You got to have a flashy title, and it's like the death of the electric guitar. It's no different than when we're.
Actually, I'm realizing now that I didn't actually read the article. Whoops-a-daisy. I am the media. No, but like, I have seen an explosion in the growth of smaller companies. What I see is like I don't think that the Washington Post is probably taking into account like Strandberg and you know what I mean, like smaller new companies that are sprouting up like little tiny mushrooms in the corpse of the old gods of, you know, Gibson and Fender that are probably too fucking heavy to support their own weight at this point, you know what I mean? And they'll probably be gone in 10, 15, 20 years. And I mean, I don't know. We can only hope. Just kidding.
I do think that
you know what I mean? Something like that.
I do think there's a thing with. I have this whole theory, and this gets out into the weeds a little bit. But okay, if we think about Jimi Hendrix, Brian May, Eric Clapton, Eddie Van Halen, there's a common denominator, which is the guitar was like a cultural force in those guys' hands, and it was kind of dangerous and different, and they're all unique. And one of the things it's part of the reason why this week while we were here, I shot this like play a Plexi video where we went downstairs and dimed a Plexi, because back in the day, you didn't have overdrive pedals and stuff like that. You wanted it to get distorted, you had to turn it up. And it was friggin' dangerous, right? Now what we've done is kind of turn the guitar, like, turn down. We've made it easier, and there's modeling amps, and a lot of. I see a lot of young players these days. Their idea of how to get a sound is like, I've got an amp, and it can kind of be any amp, and just get a clean sound. And then what pedal do you use for overdrive? That's what pedal do you use? And it's like, dude, I play distorted amps actually, because that's what I grew up on. And so it was dangerous, right? There was a Eddie Van Halen or Brian May, Hendrix for sure. Christ. Hendrix for sure back in the day. Fuzz face. I mean, it was like there would be no Jimi Hendrix if he hadn't done it the way that he did it, which was amp cranked, fuzz face, that feedback and that. Now we distill it down through like little iPod headphones or listening on iPads or something. But remember, the sound came out of a blisteringly loud, dangerous amplifier that he knew how to harness. That was a cultural force. It was dangerous, and it was like, that was amazing. You went to see a Jimi Hendrix show. It was visceral. It was powerful. It's not the same if you distill it down to like, I've got a little, Fender Blues Deluxe or whatever, and I'm playing a pedal through it. Jimi Hendrix wouldn't have, you know what I mean? So maybe we've made the guitar a little bit like a synthesizer. Not unlike, a guy with a Nord playing a Hammond sound as opposed to a real Leslie cabinet on stage and all that. And it was loud and fucking awesome sounding and, had power. John Lord, right? Or you're playing a sort of a facsimile of that sound. That sounds good and everything, but it's not dangerous, So when you dumb it down, or not dumb it down, but when you sort of, am I making sense? Like Hendrix.
Pete, you're actually talking about it.
Well, I've thought a lot about it.
Fucking ridiculous to talk about it because we're at a thing called GuitCon where people from all over the world. Wait a second. I didn't pick that subject. I was too lazy to pick subjects, so overdid. So. And then he left. Yeah, and then he left, and he's a bass player, so there. But.
Let me just say, my point is that if you want guitar heroes and you want guitar to stay like a cultural force, it's got to be, you got to have a guy that goes out on a limb, right? And it's dangerous.
But it is. Right? I haven't made any videos like you guys have. I'm getting comments from my fans who right now don't see GuitCon on my channel, writing me, this is amazing, we're following everything. We took time off work to follow all these videos. The people are out there watching not one channel right now, but over 20 channels, following everything. They're complete nuts. They're talking on forums. There is no death. There is passion out there. These people right here are passionate about it. Talking about the death of the electric guitar is insulting their investment in what we do. So we shouldn't give this topic any more time.
I
really
think
not.
that The other thing is that, that study that they were quoting, or whatever they were using for data, was fundamentally flawed, right? Because it didn't look at used sales. They looked at new sales from like one or two companies and said, they're having a reduction in sales. The electric guitar is dead, which was the clickbait title that you were saying earlier. It's a total clickbait title, and the used sales are through the roof.
And we're still talking about it. Don't talk about it.
Okay.
Well, you picked the subject. Oh, and Trey. Hey, Trey. All
right, sorry.
Trey, you didn't read the article, right?
I did not.
You did not. Do you know that Philip was quoted in the article?
No way. What? Holy shit.
Phil. What did you tell the Post?
Were you quoted?
Yeah, I'm the last one quoted. They called me 2 weeks before the article came out. That guy spent over 2 years on that.
Wow. Well, I mean, the research is
Yeah,
solid.
I was just weird.
But he did his research, but...
And he called me because he found something I said in Guitar World, where I said that there's a huge uptake in young girls taking up guitar across the country. Right. And he said that even though it was contradictory to what he was saying that even though, sales are down, this is down, he says when he went and talked to School of Rock's chain has been growing this entire time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and he said, but after reading what I had said, he went back to them and they confirmed that there was at least a 40 or 50% female to male ratio, right?
So girls are growing. See,
It's an interesting thing because I've got this friend of mine, Ariana Powell, who's like a ridiculous guitar player, right? I was showing some of you guys this video that she did today, playing a version of "Toxic" by Britney Spears.
Amazing.
It's just like, what? Like I've never
That's a
seen
great
like,
song.
and so she's bridging this gap where it's like, because it used to be, oh, it's good for a girl, and it's like, no. Like I can't play like she does. She's ridiculous. Like her hands, I can't even approach. So it's like now my YouTube demographics are like 97% male or whatever. Like,
exactly.
and so guys like us, if you're a 12-year-old girl or whatever, they ain't watching guys like us, But they're gonna watch, and she's mind-blowing to me. So it's like they're gonna see her and go, oh, I want to do that. And so you got all these girls, and Laurie Basilio, she's another one, so another Sir endorser. Damn, she's good on guitar. So there's Gretchen Men. It's empowering, and girls are going to get excited about guitar, I think, and in a way that they haven't, because it's only natural. They're going to see like role models.
So let me turn it on. Where's Jenny James? Is she here? Come here real quick, please. Put her on the spot. She just took up guitar in November.
who's that?
What? Jenny. Do you know Jenny?
Yes.
Come up to the stage.
Hello.
Hi.
I'll just
How?
down somewhere. Yeah.
Here.
Hi.
So that might be.
Yeah. Whoa, this is really loud. Sorry.
So what? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say, like, what influenced you to start?
It was actually a friend of mine because he's really good in.
Afraid of the mic. All the people at home can't hear you.
Oh, okay. So, because it's so loud, like inside here, it's
No, it sounds
really
good.
loud, and
Sounds good.
it feels weird to talk in that like this. So, a friend of mine, like I always wanted to play guitar since I'm 16, but I never really got into it. Like, there was no teacher around when I was that age, and so I started to do skateboarding and stuff. So I got off that, and then a friend of mine that I got to know a year ago or 2 years ago. He's a professional guitar player, and so he played when we were with friends at a campfire and stuff, and everybody started to sing. Like, we're getting drunk, so we start singing while he was playing. And it was so much fun to just be there with your friends and the guitar and sing to songs, like all kinds of like silly songs that we sang to. But it was just so much fun that I was like, I have to get a guitar. I have to get it, and I want to do it too.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You make a good point. You were at the camp, right?
Yeah, it was at a campfire.
So guitars are portable. Right. And they always will be that, The guitar is portable. You don't need power. You don't need, you know what I mean? The batteries ain't going to die. The guitar is going to work at the campfire, right? And that's cool.
Yeah, and that's the point why I'm into acoustic guitars. Like, I have an acoustic guitar right now, and I want to get it. I want to go into picking and all this stuff because it's just like having two guitars doing picking together. It's such a nice atmosphere, and it sounds so good, and that's why I'm totally into acoustic right now. Cool. So yeah.
I have a question for you, real quick.
Yeah.
Because Pete mentioned like the ratio on YouTube, and I know that's true of me and a lot of our channels. Is like it's literally like 2 to 3% female to 97% male audience. Have you looked at your what are they called, analytics, to see if that's true for you as well?
Actually, it's not working. Well, this is working. I think it's more male on my channel too, but I couldn't tell you how the percentage is. Okay. But it's about, I think, 60% male, something like this.
Well, that is
yeah.
That's 10 times better than we've got in terms of females. Like it's.
Oh, okay.
That's amazing.
She's effectively, percentage-wise, beating Pete Thorne, who's an accomplished guitar player, who's right. You see what I'm saying? So, because she's obviously probably relatable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think so. I think it's been such a male-dominated thing, you know. But and so maybe, you know, younger girls look at it and they see, you know, the older rock stars or whatever, or even younger rock stars, whether they see it and it's just not maybe like, oh, that's not something I can do, or you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but they see another girl doing it and doing it on such a high level that's so inspirational, you know, that's so good that it's like they're going to get turned on by that. And so maybe the future's with that. Like I really think it's going to be like maybe in like 10 years it'll be, well, you're pretty good for a guy.
Oh man,
right? You know, wouldn't that be something? We don't think about. I will point out, we don't think about this with other instruments like keys or violin. You know, you don't think about it's totally like a even split. If you look at a symphony or whatever, you know, and it's like there's just as many, you know, female musicians play. But for some reason, there was always this stigma with the guitar. Like it was kind of like so maybe it's changing, you know, and that could be driving.
Like you never see people like, oh man, she'll never be a good violinist 'cause she's a woman. Like, and like they're all smoking everybody, and like all of a sudden the guitar, like, just because like when you hold it, it kind of looks like a dick. Like, is that what? I don't know. It's a very phallic instrument.
Trey, you might want to. Yeah. Yeah, something you want to tell us.
Do it, man. Come on now, bro.
Everywhere I look, there's penises.
Let's take some viewer questions.
Yeah. On that note, what do you got?
Burning Tellies wants to know, did Henning fart you? I'm just kidding. That really says that, but it's not a good question. I'm sorry. Let me find a better one. Henning, stop farting YouTubers. Who the fuck is watching this? Who are these people? Really though. All right.
Is that Burning Tellies?
Yeah.
Leslie asked yesterday, why is the guy always asking about me farting? Ask him, please.
I don't know.
What the problem with me farting is? Because I might fart, but you can't smell it where he is.
Yeah, I mean, he was only sitting in my lap when he did it. That made me feel weird things. No, but what do you say? Burning Tellies, what's the deal? Let's ask you. Forget the audience asking us questions. In Soviet Russia, panel ask you. Really, we need to know. What's the deal with... Anyway, I thought it was mostly penis jokes with Henning. But apparently there's a new line of fart jokes. New line of fart jokes from Henning Poley, everyone. All right, let's see. There was a good question here, and they keep... whoop, whoop. Where'd it go? Okay. Since digital is moving in on amps and pedals with Kemper-style programs, do you ever foresee digital rising up to the same level in the guitar world? So I'm thinking like, he's asking about like the Variax and the Vox Starstream that I just played this past week. It's pretty good. Like, do you think it'll hit that point?
Well, I have a tuner in my phone, so that I'm using actually. Like I just got the clip-on one, but before I used the tuner on my phone because I have my phone with me all the time, and I'm using the tabs on the app that I have on my phone. So like this digital, like doing with the apps and having the cell phone with you all the time, it's helping a lot when it comes to guitar playing when you're just outside and somewhere. Like yeah. So I think I'm using that a lot, like my phone with that.
Yeah, so why not, right?
Yeah.
Why couldn't most of the sounds come from a digital version, right?
Well, digital took over music, right? So I laugh. I think all of us, I'm curious, unless somebody's different, I bet you we're all guilty. I listen to music every day on a system that 20 years ago I would have yelled at myself for listening to. You know what I mean? Because it's not like I'll Bluetooth it, my phone to a speaker that's, it's okay, but it's not amazing. So, but it's because it's so convenient to get every song and listen to.
It's also spawned a whole sort of like vinyl resurgence and stuff because there's always a backlash or whatever, which is really fun. Yeah. By the way, it's like really fun. So it's like there's that convenience factor and stuff like that. But then if you're an aficionado of something that's like it's just cool like collecting, and it sounds so good.
Yeah, and you're right. People do collect old analog stereo systems. They go for top dollar now.
Well, vinyl's growing. I mean, I know from doing some work for Vintage King in LA and stuff, they've got a vinyl mastering facility there. And those, vinyl mastering kind of became like a thing of the past, right? CDs came out, dying, vinyl dying. And then all of a sudden, it's like this resurgence starts. And it's like, holy shit, we can't keep up with the demand all of a sudden for needing to master new vinyl, albums. And those people tell me that it's just nonstop and it's just growing. So that's really cool.
One thing about that resurgence, though, which is a bizarre fact that somebody pointed out to me that owns a record store in Japan, I asked him, I was like, so how's things going with record sales? And he said what's really blowing his brains out is there are people coming into the store and spending the equivalent of, say, $60 on a record, but they're actually buying record players that are so super cheap because they're used to the current version of consumerism that they're buying like record players that are less than $100 and they're buying really expensive vinyl, and these shitty record players are actually like practically burning through their records. So instead of buying a quality record player to play these expensive records on, they're actually killing their record collection by buying a shit-ass record player.
Well, you see that in the like Urban Outfitters in the U.S. or these different places. They sell turntables and have a small vinyl selection. It's like a clothing store, and they've got some vinyl. But at least it's getting people into it. And then if they're into it, they're going to start to. It's like getting your first guitar. It's like this is beginners all over again. Kids, they're like, "What's this? This is cool, like turntable." And then if they develop an affinity for it, maybe then they'll be like, "I want to get. I hear there's better sounding ones," and then they'll move up.
It seems to me that there's been a move towards digital anyway, because most of the record players I seem to have a USB out, which is something I didn't have. Back in the 70s, you needed a tuner with a preamp in it, and you had to ground your turntable, right? So you had to ground it. I mean, it's changed. Some things have stayed the same. Obviously, vinyl has, but the turntables have really changed, and maybe not for the better, and that may be affecting their experience because no one wants to produce a high-end turntable, it seems, because
I don't know, man. There's that whole
and
it's
in
been
other
a
resurgence.
Getting out of the U.S. I mean, in China, there's a whole thing, man, like a whole audiophile, and in Japan, there's a crazy. It's a subculture, but it's there, and when you go so in Japan, I've spent a lot of time over there. There's still a 5-floor Tower Records, right? Yep. And that store is unbelievable.
8 floors.
Is it 8 floors? It's incredible. It's incredible, this record store. If you're ever in Tokyo, you got to go to it. It's in Shibuya. So
I was in there 2 weeks ago, and I got to tell you, it was like still heaps of people in there.
Oh yeah, because it's so cool, and it's like the displays of the I mean, you go in there to be like a Led Zeppelin display with a whole giant like Zeppelin and like all the albums and photographs, and there's like a video screen playing videos, and it's so cool. It's awesome. And I remember seeing the. This is the other thing is like you can get people interested in it. I remember seeing the new Jack White release
This is a couple of years ago, and they were showing it to me. It's on a special color vinyl, like it might have been white or marble vinyl or something like that. And the record played from. He did a thing where because they own Third Man has their own vinyl mastering plant, I think, and stuff. His record company. And so you drop the needle on one side and it plays like normal, and then the other side plays from the inside out and stuff like that. And it's like special. It's just all this specials. You know, you can do shit like that, and that's cool for. You know, people want to buy something special. That's the other thing. So it's like if you offer it and you make it really cool, you know, it's kind of almost like the YouTube thing. You got to come up with an angle that's like a special, a unique something that not everybody else is doing, and it draws people to it. And it's kind of like if you make it and you make it interesting, they will come. And I think, you know, just thinking outside of the box and stuff, it's fun. That's the neat thing about vinyl. It's fun. It's like.
Have you ever been into that Reco Fan store that's 2 floors above Ishibashi where I was working?
No.
So if anybody's ever seen any of the videos from the Ishibashi shop that I used to work at in Tokyo until recently, the store is huge. There's like 2,500 guitars in that shop. It's ridiculous.
It's an amazing
and
store.
2 levels above that store on the 4th floor, so we were on the 2nd floor, but on the 4th floor there was a record store that was exactly the same floor space size, and it was huge, and there's like tons of vinyl in there, everything from like old classic bad haircut and whatever 70s and whatever Japanese stuff, right through to like heavy metal classics. There's like a whole section full of like old Crocus and Scorpions and Gary Moore and Iron Maiden and all that. And then they've got like classic Motown vinyls in there, jazz vinyls, like you name it. And they've got a heap of CDs, a bit of DVDs, even like a brand new CD section for new release, various things. It's kind of like, aside from maybe say like Amoeba Records in LA, it's hard to find stores like that. But in Japan, there's plenty of stores still selling stuff.
Well, so we should point out that your store, which is absolutely unbelievable selection of guitars and pedals and everything. It's just amazing. Underneath your store is like an anime floor there, which is also, right? And then you're saying there's a record store. So the neat thing about Japan and about the culture there, one of the things about it is how deep the people get into whatever the thing. I was telling people stories this week about it, but like there's like lowrider culture in Japan. Like, you know, full on like hydraulics, and guys are dressed in that, you know, dudes driving Impalas and stuff, and then like rockabilly culture. So the really fun thing about Japan is they get so into whatever the thing is that they're, you know, whatever is the way you dress, or it's a certain style of music, or playing guitar, and it's like, I think part of the thing is like maybe in the West, you know, we get like things get diluted, and you so many things competing for your attention. Like you know, your phone or like whatever, you know what I mean? It's like people look on their phones, or you know, there's just like people are distracted all the time by things, and maybe it's a wonderful thing to consider. Like if you're into vinyl, they do it so hardcore in Japan. If you're into guitar, they're passionate about it, and they work and practice really hard. And it's like that's kind of this could be like sort of a less than like the death of the electric guitar or whatever. It's like a cultural indictment or whatever, you know what I mean? Like people are just sort of like kind of blasé about everything, maybe a little bit these days, and distracted.
And plus, people who make publications like that, they need to make something to grab attention and piss people off just to be able to get clicks on their views and, you know, to get the people talking about it, so that way they make revenue. It's just the sad reality.
That's right, and one of the things that's distracting people is that stuff. It's like that a lot. I'm guilty. I mean, I've been thinking a lot. Like I got to start putting the phone down, because when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I start looking at Twitter, and I start clicking on a bunch of stuff and looking around. It's just like that's, you know what I mean? I didn't used to do that.
It's the world we live in today, though.
It is, but it's taken away time that I could be playing guitar. You know, and more, you know.
But then that's where you get your feed of information to know where you should be putting your energy into your music, so that you can produce it to the fans that are into what you're doing. It's a vicious circle.
It is. I think we're all still figuring it out. It's like a balance, you know.
Good luck with that.
I think that was one of the points they raised in the Death of the Electric Guitar article, was that the digital toys have replaced, I mean, we just didn't have that to occupy our time back in the 70s and 80s. So, you know, we focused on guitar and sports and other things like that. But, you know, you wonder if the sports industry has been affected by phones, and other industries that were entertainment-related industries that have been affected by just the rise of, you know, personal devices.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
We've seen it in movies and stuff too, right? Like the theaters are hurting. You know, people aren't going because they're just like, well, I don't know, I can watch a movie on my iPad or whatever, watch a movie. You know, it's like, it's affecting a lot of things, not just guitar or whatever, you know, it's just kind of the blasé sort of like, I swear to God, I mean, think about the amount of time I spend on my phone or looking at my phone or whatever. It's like, it's a lot of time every day that I might be used to spend doing something else, you know, that was maybe more like kind of useful or whatever, right? Yeah.
All right. This is
We have a question.
Yeah, so I want to move on to something a little bit more practical or like nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have like a question.
Oh, you have a
Yeah,
specific
there's a question
question.
from the live show. The live. It's not. The question is, they want to know what we feel about the trend of small wattage, low wattage valve amps, and using impulses and basically speaker emulations as an industry. You know, like that's a trend. Do we see that trend? Do we see it? Is it growing? You know what I mean? And it's great because it's what we're talking about. It's something old and new put together. That's true. Yeah.
I think David Walleman looks like he wants to get up here and talk about it.
Yeah.
He's
There
was a couple requests for David Walleman. So kick it off. Start us up.
Amps?
Yeah.
Small amps and using impulse responses is that like a thing that's growing in popularity?
I don't know anything about tone. I use an Axe Effects. I've got 2 presets. I turn the knob.
Hey, that's
Why do you call me up
that's
here?
kind of this, not necessarily the same thing, but achieves the same end. So that's not that.
Okay, so I'll tell you the thing that it gives you. It's an amalgamation of using your tube amp, it doesn't have to be small. It can be anywhere from 5 watts or 1 watt. It can be 150 watts. It doesn't matter. If you got a good load box and you got some impulse responses you bought from Haha, you got a good you got a good impulse responses that you buy from Ownhammer, from Celestion, these companies. I'm totally convinced that you can get the sound of a killer studio, and you can be doing it in New York City in your apartment at 3 a.m. with a baby sleeping next door, and that's the advantage to it, you know. And so you don't have to necessarily, and I'm not dissing modelers or whatever right here, but you know, the Axe Effects is cool, and the Helix is cool and all that, and I use all that stuff. Actually, I like it, but some people just want a tube amp, you know. But tube amps aren't practical in many people's homes. They're not practical, you know. It's not a practical thing. These give you the ability to record your amp and record it at the level like basically with sound quality like you're in a big studio, and you can do it anywhere.
Yeah,
So.
I find with the load box, and I'm a huge fan of it. You know, I can run an amp into, and especially if it's a reactive load box, where when you turn the master volume up, it really acts like a tone knob because the amp, it doesn't, unlike an attenuator, where if you turn it up, it will actually go up in volume, and you have to turn the attenuator up a little bit if you want to reduce the volume. As you turn the volume up, that reacts and reduces the volume to a studio line out every single time. And so you find that, wow, my master volume really changes the characteristics of my tone that I could never do without it, because it's 1 a.m. and I really want to crank this up and get my tone, and there's no way you would be able to do it without a load box. And I agree with Pete. The impulse responses were probably garbage like 10 years ago, but now they are spot on. I have some
cheap.
Yeah, I have some impulse responses that I think are just amazing, and every time I listen to them, I'm like blown away at the quality.
I'll tell you,
Even
early as this year, before he sadly passed away, I had Chris Cornell hooked up with the exact same setup I'm using, which is a Sir amp and a Sir load box, and then some channel strips that I sent him that I made of Ownhammer impulse responses and Celestion impulse responses. And he's had a home studio setup, you know, that was like, he still couldn't really, you know, in New York City, couldn't really like crank it, You know what I mean? Like where he was. But he loved to mic amps and stuff like that, though. He loved to mic up amps. So he really, he liked good tone, really good tone. And with the impulse response, the next morning after he tried it, because I remember we got it all set up and stuff one night and we were talking on FaceTime or whatever. He's like, okay, I'm all set, but I gotta sleep or whatever. So I'm gonna try it tomorrow. I got an email when I woke up in the morning on my phone, and it was unfucking believable. That's what it said. And he's like, my mind is blown, And he was having so much fun with it, because the first time you try it, if you set it up just right, it's like, I can't believe there's not a cabinet on the other side of that wall, I have people come into my studio, and I've been using the Celestion ones. They did a great job with their room mic. So they went into a big studio, and they did all the close miking on cabinets and stuff to make the IRs, but they also did stereo pair of Neumann microphones spaced back in a room in a real studio. And so if you use, like I use the Mix IR2 plug-in from Redwires a lot, and you can blend IRs in that and mix them together and pan them and all kinds of stuff. This is a stereo plug-in. So I pull the stereo Neumann TLM 170s in. I pan them hard left and right, and I mix them in at just like 5 or 8%, and then I have the close mics up the middle, and it sounds like your guitar is it sounds like you're at Ocean Way or something with the guitar just perfectly mic'd on the, with a great cabinet. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I'm a fan, obviously.
I think
it's just power. It gives you the power to.
Yeah, for me, the number one most important idea in this, and the most powerful usage is, or kind of the key, is like, you might have a collection of great amps, okay, or like even just like 2 amps or something, and you can get a ton of tonal variation from just that, or your pedals, or maybe, and we've all got 10. Who doesn't have 10 or more guitars here? I don't. Yeah. Okay. But
it's
like,
a sad
look at
commentary on our lives.
Look at how damn big these cabs are. Okay, big, heavy ass, and they're maybe 40 to, I want to say 60% of the effect on your tone is just the cab box. Okay, and nobody has 10 of those. Unless you own a studio, and you're not going to haul out another one and mic it up and like, oh, I want to try a ribbon mic. Like, ain't nobody got time for that, Time, money, and effort. No. So you get a tube amp, and you blast it into your load box, and then you put any one of the Rosen Digital IRs from the Trey Xavier producer pack that you can find on rosen.digital, and you can sit there and get 100, 200 different distinct cab sounds. You can blend them in like the wall sound, whatever. My current favorite sound, I'm using a combination of one of the Rosen ones, because I was like, this one has the best high end of any of the ones that I've used. So I like super high pass it. And then I've got like a 2 notes cab that I like, the Brit Green 3 with this ribbon mic on it that just has the most phenomenal low end. And I, blend those two, and like, it's like you're saying, it sounds like I recorded it in a studio. It's got so much character. And it cost me very little. And anybody can do that now. It's so cool.
It's so cool. Well, because you know what it gives you is that once again, a lot of people don't necessarily. They got tubes are cool, amps are cool, modules are cool. They serve a purpose and all that. But amps are cool. They get hot and they smell good and they look cool. And they're freaking easy to use, It's like you can turn the knobs, and it's just so easy. And it's like, well, I wish I could do that at home. Well, you can't. You can use that thing. You don't need anything else. And the beauty of it, once you get it set, like in the Trey Producer Pack, you got your favorite, whatever. You pull them up in your favorite plug-in, get it set, get an awesome tone, and Rosen.digital. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I think
once you get the sound set, though, my point is you could just make
what am I trying to say? A preset of that channel strip or whatever. Every time you need that sound, it's instantly there. So some people ask me like, how do you write so much music? How do you come up with so much stuff? I've got a template that comes up in Logic that's got my favorite drums, 3 different types of drum programs, and one of the things I have is here's a Greenback loaded 412, here's a V30 loaded 412, and here is an open back 212 with blues in it, and those all pull up on different channel strips so it's like, I want a clean sound with blues, I just record enable that, plug the load box from the amp I want into there, boom, I've got the sound of a perfectly mic'd AC30 in about 40 seconds, that's how long it takes, so it's just your workflow. And that helps you with writing songs and stuff because it's all about keeping the creativity. Like, I want it to sound like The Edge or something. I can hear this part. All you got to do is plug into the AC30 or whatever, run into the load box, pull up that channel, and it's like if you can get there within a minute and 30 seconds, and the part's still in your head, then it's going to help you to get your ideas out. Now we're going to move on to the next part. Like it helps you, your output. It's really cool.
So, hey, Pete, you just said something, so I'm curious. So you use basically 3 canned drum tracks, already, right?
Yeah. So I like to have Easy Drummer 2, Stephen Slate Drums 4, and then I've got Apple, Logic Drummer or whatever it's called. Right. I've got that up on another channel, and then I've got Stylus too. Okay. So I guess I've got 4 different drum things that are. Stylus RMX. So I've got kind of my loopy thing, and I've got my slam and acoustic drums thing, and then whatever. I started using Easy Drummer too because it's super cool. And those ones I just have stereo, and then I've got Stephen Slate drums actually split across a bunch of faders like you would actually have a drum kit. So it's like the kick, snare, hi-hat. That's my main thing that I use a lot. And then I can, I just pick from one of those.
So I have a question for you. Something that interesting, I think, to me. So do you think having the ability to have a drummer basically on your computer makes you less, I want to say, interested to go find a drummer to record some stuff?
That's a really good question. Like this week, just the other day, I did a track. It's up on my YouTube channel now, YouTube/Pete Thorne. But anyway, I did a track with that girl Ariana I was just talking about for the new Sir Chorus pedal that just came out. And so we wrote a tune one night. It was 8-9 p.m. or whatever. And I was leaving for here, and so it was like, oh God, I got literally 36 hours, and I got to get this tune done. I got to get a whole video done, basically, before I left for here. So we wrote a tune super fast that night, tracked all the guitars and stuff, and I just pulled up a loop, and we tracked to that. But I'm like, this is good. This obviously needs some drums. And I was like, man, this is going to take a minute to program, because it's kind of like a groovy, organic track that sort of just, it would have needed something that sounds like a real guy, playing or whatever, acoustic drums.
Right.
And I was like, I could sit there all day, or I could just call somebody right now. So I called my buddy Kurt Buscara, who's insane drummer, and he's got a great setup at home. So he was like, yeah, man, I could play on it tomorrow morning. I got between 11 and 1. And he's a first take wonder. And so he busted it out and just sent me the drum track. So there's certain times, that was I gladly, I threw him a little bit of dough, and he was like, great. And because he's a great bass player, he actually ended up playing synth bass on it. So now the bass is done too. So I didn't have to, beyond us writing, the tune was done and mixed within less than 24 hours with a killer real drum track on it.
So do you email him the tracks, and then he puts his drums on them?
I emailed him a stereo track with the guitars and the loop up kind of loud, and just, send him a track, and I'll say it's K2448, K, just, cut, and he sends me back a Dropbox with kick, snare, toms, hi-hat, overheads, and a room mic. I pull it all in and just pull up some, and I've got presets for ready to go for things kick, snare, or whatever, my overheads, whatever, and I'll just pop the presets on the drum tracks, and then I'll just go in and tweak my plugins or whatever, and I can do a mix within 45 minutes or something like that, and then throw my stereo bus down,
That's
stuff
impressive.
that I use, and just knock it out. But so sometimes it's yeah, I can program the drums, it's cool, and then other times it's man, it's almost faster. If the drummers have got this stuff figured out like we do too now. A lot of drummers have got a great home setup and mic'd up, and it's hey man, you got time to kick out a track? And you can send them a track, and they'll you'll get a file back within an hour and a half or something that's got a killer take.
So is that more common for you than going to studio now, for other stuff? Do you find yourself doing tracks, sending them to other musicians, and then versus going to the studio and meeting together for like a one-time session?
A little bit of everything.
Okay.
I would say it's a little bit of all that, but I know a lot of drummers that have. Pretty much every drummer I know actually has a setup now where they can track at home because they don't want to be left out. They don't want to be like losing work, and they've realized that like all their friends. Drums is the toughest one because those guys they gotta invest. They need pre's, they need mics, they need a room. It's tough. It's kind of hard to be a drummer. They don't have the option unless they get a V drum kit or something. But it's like, which are kind of cool actually. But I don't know any guys that do that. Every guy I know is like, most drummers I know have invested in actually like kind of building a room, like, which is huge. They're spending like 15, 20 grand to like build out a room and soundproof and like, and then on top of that, the gear, But like my buddy Blair Senta, who I do stuff with all the time, he converted his garage into a pretty great, room.
We've got on the chat a ridiculous amount of requests for Glenn to get up on the stage.
Glenn, come take this mic, and I'm going to get out of here.
Glenn went home? Seriously?
He's at the hotel. Yeah, he didn't go.
What, do you have to go and wash his vagina? You see, the funny thing is, if you had have said that, everyone would have pissed themselves laughing. This is so unfair. It's so racist.
Politically incorrect.
What did he have to do? Go home and wash his vagina? Shit, you're right.
So since
it's just Michiel.
So since Glenn's gone, there's another question, and I want to add to it first because it's interesting. First, I'm going to tell you the question, then I'm going to tell you the add-in that I just saw that it was cool on Facebook. The question was, they're asking the panel, what's the least expensive piece of gear that you use, in your collection? But before you answer it, I don't know if any of you saw about a week ago on Facebook, Eric Johnson was talking about, he was doing some tracks, and he was talking about his $179 classical guitar that he loves. And he said, he said he's tried all these crazy expensive classical guitars, but that's the one that him and the producer always picks. And it's, right. And so it was just this, and he was playing it, of course, it was amazing, but it was just this cool little weird video that he put out right on Facebook to say, hey, by the way, I love this, $179 like Takamine. So in that vein, do you guys have some cheap gear that you love, but better yet, better than your premium stuff?
I think it's funny that you brought up the classical guitar because, I mean, I don't really play classical guitars all that often, but every single time I do, I'm always like, damn, this sounds so good. And I kind of recently recorded probably one that's that cheap, and I thought it sounded just as good as any other classical guitar I've ever heard in my life. And there's probably some classical guitarists out there being like, you bastard. But I've never heard one that I thought sounded any that different from anything else. Anyway, I don't have a good answer for the other question. Please, somebody else go.
Well, that's the question for you. So next, anyone else? Pete, what do you got? You got top line gear. What do you got? A piece of gear that's just cheap?
I bought my basement. A lot of people are always like, "Oh, you're always playing through expensive amps. How are we supposed to know the pedal sound?" So I used my basement a lot. I bought it for $399. Right. It was $400. It's a '66, but it's like those amps were pretty plentiful back when I bought it. It was cheap. Just because it's more expensive doesn't mean it sounds any different. Like it still sounds, whether it was $399 or you bought it and it was $1,000. But I have I've got like a pretty run-of-the-mill Vox AC-15 hand-wired that I bought used for $900 or whatever. I got a top hat head that I bought at Guitar Center because the input jack was broken on it. And I was looking for a nice Marshall, actually, like a nice Plexi or early 70s one or something. And I tried like 15 amps. They all sounded like dogs because they all probably needed to be recapped and all that, or tubes or worked on. And then I found this top hat in Plexador. It basically like a killer point-to-point 50-watt Marshall. And it was, so the input jack was intermittent. And I said to them in the store, oh, it's broken. It doesn't work. And they, I can give you $200 off or something. So I got it for like $700. And that amp rivals any it sounds like the best 50-watt, Marshall. It's just killer. Anything else? My bass is like $300 that I played on a gazillion. I went to the Guitar Center one day. People laugh about the bass that's in my videos because it's got the tag hanging off the headstock, and it's got the plastic on the pickguard still and stuff, and it's so ugly. But it just sounded pretty good, and it was $300. So,
Jam Cave Studio says, do you know Jam Cave Studio, the username? The Jam Cave studio person says here, I can answer that. My HSS Strat with Pete Thornbucker Plus Sir V60 LP that I built is my favourite guitar. Better than my $2,000 Les Paul. So you're getting some love there, mate. There's been a few comments actually saying that I love it when Pete Thorne geeks out and various things like that. They're enjoying your commentary. And also there's a lot of compliments on here for you, Mr. McKnight, as the host. There's actually been I've skipped this comment, I've gone past it now, but somebody actually said that, and I think the audience will like this, they've asked for Philip McKnight to be the host of these chats next year.
All right, I'll do it.
The thing is, though, now Henning's going to roll up in the fetal position for the... How many times has Henning rolled up into a fetal position during the course of this week? Pete,
you know what, though, for the record?
Yeah.
He's done an amazing job.
Oh, he's incredible. Let's hear it for Henning Pauly. I have to say, being a non-American, because it's not offense to Americans, it's just we have a different way of doing things when we're from the outside of America. Henning's comedy doesn't seem to go down very well with Americans.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, well, you're Canadian.
Oh, good point. No, Henning brought us all here, and we've done great work this week, and we've learned a lot, but not only that, we've made some terrific friends.
Oh, I didn't even realize he was sitting right next to me.
See, these guys didn't even know each other before, and look at them now. They're lovers now.
You know, also, too, all of the volunteers.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Volunteers, definitely.
Yeah. These guys have been here. Henning, right? They've been here since last week, right? They're on, I am about to fall asleep, right? Because of exhaustion, right? Right. And I'm on day 5, I think, right? You guys are on day what? 10? 10, 9?
Wednesday night we arrived, and we had...
Last week.
Right. And it's, what is it now?
Thursday.
Okay. So we had 12, 14-hour days minimum nonstop.
Yeah. It's been so again, I just want to point this out. These people came, they volunteered, they've worked over a week so far, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. So thank you again.
And then partying it up with some people.
And of course,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But they've not that they're hard workers, which they are, but no, the freaking Dutch guy there. He's from Belgium, same damn thing. But they know their shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would have been happy if 80% of what I imagined for this event would have come to fruition. Is that something one says? Yep. I think we're at 98. Because as far as I know, not a single video had to be scrapped. Nothing had to be thrown out. Some audio issues here or there. I caught some of those, could re-export. No major problems, no major disasters, no room that went down. No, so far, I hope, no broken cameras. You know, things are working 98% the way I imagined it. We have some tweaks for next year, which will be faster in the rooms, faster setup times, all this stuff. But I would have never thought that what we had planned here would work out that well. And it is thanks to the guys in the rooms and Bo behind the board up here. And it's let's name the fuckers. Come on, Michiel, and then there's Bo, and there's Marco, and there's Vlad.
Before you say the name, I've got to throw in this here because this is your thing, but we're all here to appreciate this. The person who genuinely this whole thing never would have honestly came to fruition the way that it has is without Kiana. That girl is freaking unbelievable.
She is.
To be at 18 years of age and to be so organised, and what people behind the scenes don't see, and she's so shy about this, but seriously, like, it sounds weird to say this, and I don't want this to be comedy, so don't laugh, but it's like you are the driving force of the body, but she is the brain, like the hamster on the wheel. She's so got it together.
Well, while I talk about her, could she please come out? Because she's actually switching these live sessions.
Well, there you go.
She's actually in the control room switching these live sessions.
You just proved everything I just said.
So, Kiana, come out here, please.
And then, did we miss names?
We have.
Yay,
Let's do this again.
Kiana.
Michiel, Bo, Marco, Vladimir, Harry. Am I
There she is.
forgetting someone? That's it. Kiana, come here. Get your ass up on stage.
Hello.
Sit right here.
So we should point something out, though, which is that, I don't know about you guys or other people that have been making videos this week, but people out there are probably waiting for them. Right. And there's just been a ton of content filmed, but it's hard to even have time to edit because we're here all day just making stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like I got stuff coming out like crazy. Gonna be, like with you, Jason, and with Phil X, and a lesson with Tom Quayle. It's amazing, and the Plexi video and all this stuff. But I got to get time to edit it and put it together. So the content's coming. You know, this has been more about creating it and stuff. And people are like, well, where's all this stuff you guys are talking about? I was just realizing. Maybe you guys have been uploading more than I have, but I haven't had a lot of time.
I haven't followed it, but the stuff that's up is already quite a bit. Yeah, I know there's so much stuff coming.
Yeah. Tone King put up like 10 or 12 videos already.
Yeah, but he's nuts.
Yeah, he is nuts.
Louis is freaking nuts.
Yeah.
Great guy, but totally nuts.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So thanks to everyone, and you know, I see Kiana now as my shield. People come and they need something, and she spots within a millisecond if it's something that she can take care of, and she's like, I'll do it, I'll take care of it. And then she runs back in, and is like, you need a coffee? And it's crazy. And
No, that never happens.
yes, it does.
She never makes coffee.
The freaking, so not for you, because you expect it, Marco. You expect her to do it. No, she's absolutely amazing, and I pay her exactly nothing.
Hey,
but
yes.
And once and for all, it's going on for years now. No, she's not my girlfriend.
Not that he hasn't wished for it before.
No, she's not my daughter, or my niece, or my wife.
Or his sister. We're not related.
You wish. Kiana is my student. That's what she is. And my sidekick and my friend.
He's my sensei.
So we're going to leave the stage now and actually make some music. If someone can please wake up Phil X.
Is he sleeping?
Where is he? Phil!
right,
You're back!
Phil.
Woo! Let's rock and roll, as we say in Germany. Get out.
One last quick comment that came in on the feed was one request was for less bald guys on the stage at the same time next year.
Yeah.
That was Jeffrey Farmer, I think it was, that said that.
The fucker. I'll take a mic, I don't care. Free mics.
Hello, I'm a handsome prince and I live in a fairy tale land. I know really lots of things, let me show to you, my friend. Hello, I'm a crazy spoon and I live in a cup of tea. And my only friend is the moon, every night she's there for me.